What I can ask of everybody viewing this, especially in the Port Clinton, Ottawa County area, at night, please leave your outside light on so we can get out across to Harley.
I just wanted to tell Harley how much we love him and we miss you, and we are still waiting to have Christmas with you.
I can't keep making videos.
In late 2019, 14-year-old Harley Dilly was seen leaving for school, but he never made it to school or home that day. A few weeks later, he was found in nothing short of a horror movie scene. What happened to poor Harley? How did he end up stuck in a chimney? And is his case closed today? This is the full tragic story of Harley. Friday, December 20th, 2019, would have been Harley Dilly's last day of school that year. He was going into Christmas break after that. But although his family saw him leave for school that day, he never made it to school. None of his classmates or teachers knew where he could be. He didn't notify anybody that he would be skipping school that day. And as far as the other kids knew, Harley wasn't with another kid either. It made no sense that he would skip school that day. The day before Christmas break is normally fun. The kids do crafts, have parties, watch movies in class. It's not the kind of day kids or teens are desperate to miss. 14-year-old Harley was the adventurous type, but he didn't have a habit of skipping school. So it was a disturbing moment when the school staff spoke to Harley's parents and realized none of them knew of his whereabouts. That morning, Harley woke up feeling a bit iffy. He asked his mom, Heather, if he could stay home that day, and she said, no, you have to go to school. Sadly, Heather didn't know that would be her last interaction with her son. Here's the first odd twist to the story. Even though Heather realized by the end of that day that Harley had not made it to school, she and her husband only reported him missing 40 hours later. When Harley didn't come home on that first night, his parents thought his runaway episodes were getting longer. Harley had a tendency to leave home without a note or a warning and come home late at night, or even the next morning. When law enforcement spoke to Harley's family, they gave them a few clues. Harley's parents told the police he had a history of running away. He would often go stay at a friend's house and come back a day later. The teenager had a history of anger issues along with Asperger's and ADHD. This was a tricky combo that often led to issues between Harley and his parents. How do you tell your son to stay put when that only makes him more eager to leave the house? Harley's parents became familiar faces on TV, urging their son to come home.
I just wanted to tell Harley how much we love him and we miss you, and we are still waiting to have Christmas with you. We want you to come home. We want you safe. Your family misses you. Everyone misses you. Your community's looking for you.
But the Dilly family became a controversial name, some people pointing fingers at them and some blaming them for their son's disappearance. Why did they wait so long to report him missing? That was the question on everybody's mind. When investigators first looked into Heather and Marcus, they found nothing intriguing. Marcus worked as a sanitation worker, and Heather had her own business, a legging company called Dilly's Designs. This meant she could work from home and devote most of her time to raising Harley. As Harley was diagnosed with Asperger's when he was just 5, he would end up needing quite a lot of attention from his mom.
He's a mama's boy. I mean, through and through, he's a mama's boy. He loves to give hugs, you know.
Growing up, however, Harley developed into a socially active teen, despite what his doctors said. When he was 14, he had 3 good friends and a girlfriend. This was good news. But as it goes for many kids with Asperger's, Harley developed a sensory processing disorder. He was extremely particular about what he ate, picking out any color or texture that he didn't like.
He eats certain colors. You know, he has sensory processing. He loves his hot fries. He loves his pizzas. And it's got to be bacon pepperoni. He loves his chicken patties, certain kind of chicken patty.
Harley also had an aversion to the feeling of grass. This is why his family argued that he wouldn't have been exploring natural surroundings on his own. If he ran away from home, he most likely would go to a friend's house and stay there overnight. There was another problem Harley's parents revealed to the investigators. Harley had a sister over a decade older than him. Ashlin. Sadly, she found babysitting for her brother aggravating in many ways. On the one hand, she wanted to be a normal teenager and shun any adult responsibilities. On the other hand, Harley was already showing signs of Asperger's and was, in Ashlin's words, difficult. When he was just a toddler, Ashley was reportedly violent to Harley. For those who are already suspicious of Heather and Marcus, this was proof that they weren't there for Harley. Why didn't they intervene when they saw Ashlin do these things? According to them, they had a really hard time raising Ashlin. She would be in and out of trouble with authorities and would repeatedly run away from home. When Ashlin was 21, she had a son named Rory. Feeling unable to care for him, she passed him on to her parents. Eventually, Heather and Marcus adopted Rory. Rory was both Harley's nephew and brother. I know, confusing. Within a year or two, Ashlin had a daughter too, but this time she gave her to her parental grandparents who also adopted her. Around this time, Harley was also diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. This made him more irritable and more prone to fights and defiant behavior towards authorities. It's unclear whether his older sister had the same disorder, but this, perhaps more than anything else, is what made them alike. Although he was only 14 at the time of his disappearance, he had already been suspended from school several times, and the school had ample record of incidents in class. Heather and Marcus confessed the same thing about Harley as they did about Ashlin. They simply had a hard time managing his emotions and behavior at school. The minute they tried disciplining him, he had a strong counter-reaction. But if they let him do whatever he liked, he still got into trouble with authorities. They saw no way out of this. To Harley, anything that went against his strict routine was overwhelming. And this wasn't just his parents trying to set rules and boundaries. In February 2019, Heather was placed in a coma for 25 days after contracting a serious illness. When she came out of the coma, she suffered serious memory issues. Heather's parents moved in with the family to help raise Harley and Rory, but this was an earth-shattering event for Harley. His mother behaved differently now, and there were 2 extra adults in the house making the rules. Following the major disruption in his life, Harley took to YouTube to make new friends and find a new purpose in life.
What's up, boys? It's your boy Harley Dilly. I'm back at it like a crack addict, and today, oh boy, the depression is over. The channel it's a channel.
Harley had always been into sports, to the extent that he knew all the stats, names, and dates in football history, and more. Now he had a chance to talk about his favorite topics to a growing number of subscribers. When he hit 100 subscribers, he gushed over it on YouTube and promised to aim for 1,000 in the year 2020. Sadly, he never lived to see New Year's 2020. Harley's YouTube channel, now defunct, also illustrates his gradual falling out with his parents. First, they took his Xbox after an argument. Harley could still play games on his phone and school laptop, but wasn't able to go on Xbox Live games anymore. At his friend's house, he could still play some of his favorite Xbox games, but not from his account. Later on, his school laptop's charging port broke, and Heather told her son she wouldn't pay to have the laptop fixed. Again, she was trying to punish him for misbehaving and raising his voice at his parents. That's when Harley filmed himself describing an awful day he just had.
Hey guys, what's up? It is Harley Dilly. Probably one of my worst days in my life. We argued for about a good 5 minutes. And then she snapped. She said she was gonna call police, and she said she already did. I went to my school, and I went to talk to my assistant principal, because he's like the only person I can really trust in this.
It was pretty telling that Harley found the assistant principal at his school more trustworthy than his parents. But then, of course, we must remember that he had oppositional defiant disorder, which meant that any argument with his family could easily escalate into big words, runaway incidents, and aggression. When Harley found out Heather had never phoned 911 and she was just bluffing, he was angered even more.
So she lied to me to get me scared, and she locked me out of the house, so right now I'm outside.
In another video, which has since been taken down, Harley filmed himself while his family is arguing in the background. His dad, Marcus, can be heard screaming at Rory, who at this point was just 4 years old. Rory had spilled something, and Marcus was cussing at him. This just goes to show the negative energy Harley had to live with. And knowing he was extra sensitive to things like these, it's safe to imagine that he was in a very bad place after his family had taken away his technology. It got even worse worse on December 17th when Harley accidentally broke his phone. When he asked Heather to pay for replacing the screen, she refused. According to Heather, her son kept breaking his phones, and she wanted him to learn and be more careful. When he heard this, Harley took his phone to his room and had it completely crushed. He thought this would push his parents to buy him a new one. Instead, they said no, they wouldn't reinforce this kind of behavior. That night, Heather uploaded a picture of the smashed phone on Facebook with the caption, "This is a sample of what happens when he has a meltdown. He also cusses, screams, bangs head, punches himself, threatens me. He is like another person. That on top of things not going how they should, I'm done, lost, want to crawl in a hole and die." Having all these facts, investigators could see why Harley would want to run away from home. It wouldn't even be the first time. And since his runaway incidents were usually responses to bad arguments at home, December 20th that year made a lot of sense. However, Christmas came and so did New Year's, and Harley was nowhere to be found.
What I can ask of everybody viewing this, especially in the Port Clinton, Ottawa County area, at night, please leave your outside light on so we can get out across to Harley.
Every single day at 3 p.m., the sheriff's office would urge Port Clinton community to come forward with any clues that would lead to finding Harley. They also urged Harley to come home in case he was watching. Meanwhile, Heather was interviewed several times by detectives in an effort to gather as much information about Harley as possible. Knowing he wasn't the average teen, and this wasn't the average runaway, and he could have gotten into serious trouble.
Autistic, he has Asperger's. He has oppositional defiant disorder, PTSD from his sister beating him with a belt when he was 2, anger issues. In fact, the school was going to be doing like an anger management and a mediation between him and the boy that one of the incidents was with.
Shortly before his disappearance, Harley had slapped another boy in his classroom, and his parents were pressing charges. To the detectives, this boy and his family were not suspects. But when they had a look at Harley's YouTube channel, they started to think maybe there was foul play involved. In one video, Harley is filming himself in the bathtub with his shirt off talking about sports. In another video, he reveals his home address and phone number to his subscribers. For a 14-year-old, this is not necessarily odd, but many ill-intended adults could take advantage of information like this. Detectives also found CCTV footage of Harley running away from home for exactly 8 minutes on Thursday, December 19th at around 8 p.m. Did he meet someone, like a creepy internet friend? Someone that could have potentially snatched him the next morning when he disappeared? According to law enforcement, 8 minutes wasn't long enough for Harley to get to any of his friends' houses or even the convenience store. If he met someone, it would be an implausibly short time. So the most likely scenario in their minds was a runaway attempt, with Harley changing his mind a few minutes later. The CCTV footage shows him running back inside his home 8 minutes after leaving the house. Although not very helpful, the footage showed Harley wearing a dark red hooded coat. On January 13th, 2020, this information would come in handy.
This could happen to anybody's child. My grandson had issues, and he wasn't a perfect boy, but he was a good boy and he loved his mother.
By January 2020, the community was divided. Some supported the Dilly family and prayed for Harley's return, and others accused Heather and Marcus of harming their son after their relationship reached a boiling point. Heather even took to the internet to show people how much she suffered.
You all want to see what I look like when I'm not taking my meds to help. You want to know what it's like to have a son missing.
The Dilly family were cleared as suspects by New Year's 2020. On January 13th, news reporters turned up at a house across the street from the Dilly family home. The reporters had heard there were several sheriff's cars there already. The crowd only grew larger as neighbors and locals heard what was happening. They were now in front of a vacant house. It was a summer holiday house belonging to a family who lived in a different town. The house had been under renovation for a few years, so the family had stopped visiting it. But no good news was shared that night. First, a coroner's van showed up at the address. Then, the onlookers could spot Harley's dark red hooded puffer jacket hung indoors. Then they could see someone wielding a hammer against something on the second floor. That night, the sheriff's office tracked the complete CCTV footage from that Thursday night and discovered that Harley had been to the home during those 8 minutes. But it was likely he'd gone there on Friday morning too. When they entered the house, they found the jacket, and Heather confirmed it belonged to her son. Strangely, there were no footprints in the dusty home. However, close to where the jacket was found, there was a metal vent plate. Above it, a hole in the wall matching its size. You see, the Holiday house used to have a stove chimney, but since the renovation started, the chimney had been shut. Harley didn't know this. On Friday morning, he tried sneaking into the vacation home through the chimney. Instead, he got stuck in a narrow vertical tunnel with no way out. When a detective reached inside the shut chimney, he could feel human hair. The detectives dismantled the chimney brick by brick, revealing Harley's decomposed body.
It's been nearly 3 years now since Harley Dilly made national headlines. The boy ultimately found dead in his neighbor's chimney.
Harley's house is just across the street from where his body was found. His mother didn't want to go on camera for this story, but told me that they had to put up this fence just to be able to stand in their yard in peace these days.
As of November 2023, locals still bully the Dilly family, claiming they unalived their son, even though Chief Detective Rob Hickman concluded the case as follows. I truly believe that he didn't want to go to school that day. His mom told him to go to school, and I truly in my mind think he thought, well, I'll go down the chimney hiding the house, waiting for mom to leave, and then go back home and play games. But how was Harley to know that there was no chimney, there was no fireplace? It's sad that we will never know the last thoughts that went through Harley's mind or the true fear he felt as he lost his life in that narrow chimney. It's also sad to think that his family may never get true closure with so many people still accusing them of taking their son's life. In the complicated relationship that Harley had with his parents, how much were they at fault for his death? What do you think? Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what other similar stories you know in a comment. And before you leave, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell button for more. See you next time.